In this video, we're going to go over how to add and subtract fractions that have the exact same denominator or a common denominator. The ones that have a common denominator are going to be really easy. Here are our rules. When you write your answer is going to have the exact same denominator as the two fractions in your problem. If the denominator is 5 on both of them, then 5 is going to be your denominator in your answer. You simply write a new fraction and put that common denominator over there in this new fraction that's going to be your answer. Next, you simply combine the top numbers together. That means you're going to use your rules for combining positive and negative numbers. And I'm going to put a link over here in the corner on the rules for combining positive and negative numbers. And then with all fractions, you always simplify these. So let's look at some examples. Our first example is going to be 2/5 plus 7/5. So like our rules say, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to make a new fraction with this common denominator as my denominator in my answer. The next thing I do is simply combine these top numbers together. Both of these are positive. My rules say that when they're positive, I add them together and keep the sign. 2 plus 7 is 9. Then I need to try and simplify it. That means I need to use these prime numbers, 2, 5, 7, 11, and so forth, to try to simplify this. Take my calculator out, start with 2. 9 divided by 2, decimal. 2 won't go into it. Try the next number, 5. 9 divided by 5, decimal. Next number I need to check is 7. Notice 7 is bigger than one of the numbers in my fraction. That means that fraction right there is simplified. Go to my next example. 3/4 minus 9/4. Again, I'm going to come over here and make a fraction, and whatever this common denominator is down here, I'm going to put that as my denominator in my answer. And then I'm going to combine these numbers in the top. This is a positive 3, and this negative sign goes with that 9. The signs are different. Since the signs are different, I subtract and take the sign of the bigger number. I can just type it in my calculator, 3 minus 9. -6. Again, I need to see if I can simplify this. Again, I'm going to use prime numbers to help me simplify this. I'm going to start off with 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And then I bring that negative sign with me. 2 worked one time. Let's see if 2 will work again. 3 divided by 2. As soon as I get a decimal, I know 2 won't work. 5 is bigger than both of these numbers right here. That means that number has been simplified. Let's go to our next example. Our next example is 2/5 minus 7/5. Again, I make a fraction, put my common denominator in my answer, and I'm going to combine these numbers together up here. This is a positive 2 and a -7. The way it's written, I can type that right into my calculator. 2 minus 7. 2 minus 7 is -5. If I'm using those rules, the signs are different. I subtract and take the sign of the bigger number. Before I simplify any fraction, the very first thing I need to check is to see if these numbers can be divided. Notice I've got -5 already in my calculator. The only thing I need to do next is divide by 5. Divided by 5. And I get the integer -1. No reason to simplify this one. And my last example, -1/7 minus 4/7. Again, I keep this 7 as my denominator. I need to combine these numbers together. This is a -1 and a -4. If I remember my rules, if the signs are the same, I add. I add 1 plus 4. And I keep the sign. I need to see if it needs to be simplified. So I'm going to use these numbers right here, my prime numbers, to see if I can simplify this. Start off with 2. 5 divided by 2. Decimal. 2 doesn't work. Let's try 5. 5 divided by 5. 5 will go into this 5 right here. One time, I'm going to bring my negative sign over. But let's see if 5 will go into 7. 7 divided by 5. I get a decimal. So that 5's not working. This isn't working. The next number is 7. 7 is bigger than this number right here, so there's no reason to keep going. That one has been simplified. So if they have the exact same denominator, simply use that denominator in your answer and combine those numbers in the top up there.